The numbers don't lie, and J.J. McCarthy has been proving it day after day at the Vikings training camp. While many still see him as a rookie in development, preseason statistics and joint practice performances against the Patriots show a quarterback already delivering above-average metrics. Plays under pressure, quick reads, and precise decisions reveal a pattern of growth that is rare for someone at his stage. And much of these details went unnoticed outside of Minnesota. Stay with this video to understand, play by play, how McCarthy is progressing faster than many expected, and why this could change the course of the Vikings this season. In the first preseason game, McCarthy took the field against the Houston Texans and, despite limited playing time, showed control and confidence in leading the offense. Maye, on the other hand, made his debut against the Washington Commanders with similarly limited action, but faced different challenges. This combination of live game experience and joint practices already allows us to draw interesting comparisons about McCarthy's current stage. But before projecting this matchup, official confirmation arrived. McCarthy will not play this Saturday against the Patriots. Kevin O'Connell decided to maintain the philosophy of protecting his starters after 2 intense days against a different defense. Sam Howell will start, with Brett Rypien and Max Brosmer completing the rotation. Still, the question remains. Shouldn't McCarthy have received at least 1 quarter of play or a few opening drives, as he did in his debut against Houston? Joint practices are controlled environments, while a preseason game, even though it doesn't count toward the regular season, is a real NFL setting with game tempo, pressure, and decision-making under the clock. For a young quarterback like McCarthy, these snaps carry weight in building confidence and chemistry. But returning to the statistical data from his first preseason game already gives us a solid sample of what McCarthy can offer. Yet this time, we won't see that sample repeated in the second game. Let's move to the analysis. Let's start by looking here at the first passing table in the box score from the Minnesota Vikings. We'll go straight to the line for J.J. McCarthy. In the first column for passes completed and attempts, we see 4 completions on 7 attempts. That gives an accuracy rate of 57.1%. For a preseason game with limited snaps, this already shows he kept the ball moving and avoided wasting possessions. Now, sliding the eye over to the column for total yards, there are 30 yards, but what really matters here is right next to it, yards per attempt, 4.3 yards per pass. This number indicates that even without high volume, each attempt gained enough yardage to keep downs manageable. Further to the right, notice the long pass, 18 yards. This reveals there was at least 1 intermediate connection, and that threat of depth forces the defense to play slightly deeper, opening space in the middle of the field. Now look at the column for quarterback sacks. It shows 0. This means he released the ball on time or moved within the pocket before pressure arrived. Right next to it, interceptions, also 0, which reinforces that he protected possession well. And finally, the passer rating, 67.6, reflecting this controlled performance without mistakes that cost yards or possession. Now we'll move down to the next passing table from the New England Patriots and focus on Drake Maye. In the column for passes completed and attempts, 3 completions on 5 attempts, 60.0% completion rate. Next, total yards, only 12 yards, and in yards per attempt, 2.4, a much shorter gain per pass, which tends to put the offense in more difficult third down situations. Moving to the long pass, 9 yards, half the distance achieved by McCarthy. With that, the defense can focus more on covering short routes. Now, in the sacks column, Maye took 1, while McCarthy took none. This directly impacts yardage loss and offensive rhythm. For interceptions, 0. Like McCarthy, he also did not turn over possession. And finally, the passer rating, 64.6, slightly below the Vikings quarterback. Now let's compare point by point. Look here at the completions/attempts numbers. McCarthy at 4/7, Maye at 3/5. While Maye is slightly more accurate percentage-wise, McCarthy completed more passes overall and had more attempts, showing greater rhythm and volume of play. Then, Moving to the yards per attempt column, McCarthy with 4.3, Maye with 2.4. This shows that each pass from McCarthy gained nearly double the yardage. In the long pass column, McCarthy with 18 yards, Maye with 9. A clear advantage for the Vikings in stretching the field and opening up the defense. And in the sacks column, McCarthy 0, Maye 1. Here we see the difference in pocket awareness and timing to release the ball. This combination, more yards per attempt, longer passes, and avoiding sacks, tends to keep McCarthy's offense with more play options and fewer third down pressure situations. While Maye will need to turn his shorter completions into greater gains to avoid relying heavily on big plays. Based on this breakdown, McCarthy holds the advantage in the areas that most help sustain drives. And if he repeats this performance next Saturday, the Vikings could control the clock more and set the pace against the Patriots. These statistical data help create a more solid projection of what to expect from both quarterbacks throughout the season. Even without taking the field this Saturday, McCarthy remains the top observed name at the position in Minnesota. The way he utilized his snaps against Houston, and especially his performance in the joint practices with New England, further fuels the anticipation of seeing him under real game pressure, something that, by decision of the coaching staff, will have to wait for a future opportunity. Even so, to understand where the advantage McCarthy showed in his limited snaps comes from, it's worth going back to his college years. It is there that we find the foundation of consistency, efficiency, and decision-making that has followed him into the NFL. McCarthy not only maintained strong numbers throughout his college career, but also demonstrated an ability to protect the ball and control the tempo that stood out well before the draft. And this read from the first preseason game already gives us a solid sample of what to expect. But to understand where this difference comes from, let's go one level up and look at the college history of both players. Here at the top of the table, we start with passing efficiency. McCarthy at 167.4 compared to Maye's 149. This higher passing efficiency indicates that even when facing strong college defenses, McCarthy maintained a better balance between yardage, accuracy, and ball protection. Sliding the eye over to total quarterback rating, total QBR, 89.2 for McCarthy versus 78.8 for Maye. Again, a metric that summarizes the quarterback's overall impact, showing McCarthy excelling in decision-making and execution across different game situations. Further down, observe completion percentage. McCarthy completing 72.3% of his passes, compared to Maye's 63.3%. This nearly 9 percentage point difference means greater consistency in sustaining drives and fewer wasted attempts. Now we move to interceptions. McCarthy with just 4 compared to Maye's 9, half the turnovers in this category. And here the advantage is clear. Fewer turnovers mean more scoring opportunities and less pressure on the defense. This sequence of metrics from the college period reinforces what we saw in the box score of the first preseason game against the Houston Texans. McCarthy has carried from college a consistent pattern of efficiency, accuracy, and ball protection that tends to translate into practical advantages on the field. And it is this solid foundation that could make a difference in the upcoming matchup between the Vikings and the Patriots. These data make it clear that McCarthy's performance pattern is no accident. Even though he will not be on the field this Saturday, the statistical and behavioral foundation built from college through current practices reinforces that when he returns to game action, he will have solid fundamentals to sustain the offense. And when we cross the college metrics with the first preseason samples, it becomes clear that McCarthy maintains a higher standard of consistency in game reading compared to Maye. But with him out of this Saturday's game, fans will have to wait a little longer to see this advantage applied on the field against a real opponent. Still, here's the question. Even with high-level practices against the Patriots, the environment remains controlled. A preseason game, no matter how meaningless the outcome, brings real pressure, game speed, and unpredictability that no practice can fully replicate. Shouldn't McCarthy play at least the first quarter? Thank you for watching, and see you next time.